Yo, what's good with y'all? In today's video, I got how to make Steal a Brainrot Part 2 and stuff. You guys showed Part 1, lots of love and support, so of course I had to, oh, I just realized that's not supposed to be there, my bad. Anyway, so you guys showed Part 1, lots of love and everything, and so I'm hitting y'all with Part 2 the next day and stuff. As I said, as you guys, as long as you guys continue to show the series love and support, I will continue dropping more and more videos, but not gonna lie, I think this series will low-key be done by like part 3 or part 4. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, because it's like I realize there's not really that much left to do, to be honest. We did the base in part 1. We're about to set up the the place where the NPCs walk and stuff, and then have their stats and everything, set up a spawning system and all that. So yeah, I already know, continue showing the series love and support, and I will keep the series going and stuff. So thank y'all for love and support on part 1, and we'll keep it going. If you're interested in any of my scripts or models, read the description, and let's go ahead and get straight into part 2. Okay. First things first is knock out a UI. UI is going to take us literally like 2 seconds. Head on over to Starter GUI, plus icon, insert a screen GUI, rename this screen GUI to Core GUI, disable reset on spawn, and then insert a text label into it. You're going to want to rename this text label to money text label. This is going to let the player know how much money they currently have. You can just drag this down to like the bottom left, right? Background transparency can be set to 1. I'm going to set the text, bold text, rich text, scale the text. I'm going to put the money symbol here. What I recommend doing here, right? You guys don't necessarily have to do is what I recommend doing until we do data saving and stuff. What I recommend doing is putting how much money the player should have by default, right? Like what I mean is like however much money you're going to have, like okay, so when a player joins your game for the first time and stuff, you know, they'll obviously come in with some money, right? I recommend putting that amount here in the text label, right? So yeah, so then we're gonna set the text to green, maybe like a darker green, and then text stroke transparency will be set to 0, and then text stroke color will be black, right? And then we have our money text label set up. Now we're gonna need to make a path and stuff. I'm just gonna call it a carpet, right? But we're gonna make a little path for the NPCs to walk down and stuff. I'd literally consider it a carpet because it's like red and everything. So we're gonna insert a part, right? You're going to scale it out just a little bit. Doesn't need to be too wide. Then boom, boom, something like that, right? The exact measurement's completely up to you guys. Y'all can make it longer, shorter. It's up to y'all, right? I'm gonna just set the color to red. I might actually make the material too. I think they have a carpet material. I'm not sure though. Yep, they do actually. Okay. So from there, you're going to name this part. This is going to be our carpet. Of course, make sure the part is anchored, right? Then you're going to want to insert another part at the end. You can decide whether you want the left to be the start or the right to be the end. Or sorry, left start, right start. It doesn't really matter and stuff, right? I'm just gonna say this side is the end. That's what I'm gonna say. So this is pretty much just for show. So we're gonna have here. We're gonna just set the color to black. We're going to name this part to start. Or sorry, not start, end. This is gonna be the end, right? Anchor it, then you're just going to duplicate it and then simply just move it across all the way down. Boom. Okay, so now we have that, and then this will be where we start, where our NPCs like start. This is where this is the beginning. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to insert a part, right? Insert a part. This is very important. This is going to be your spawner. This is where NPCs are going to actually spawn out of, or on top of, I should say. So you want it to be obviously a little wide and a little bit in front of your start wall and stuff, right? So you're going to want to set the transparency to 1. Rename this to spawner. Disable can't collide and make sure it's anchored, right? This is going to be our spawner. And then boom, so just put that wherever you want the NPCs to spawn out of, right? Then now we're going to need to do our checkpoints and stuff, right? Now it's very important, very crucial that you pay attention. So what I'm going to do is I am going to duplicate the spawner. So I'm just going to select it, then duplicate it, move it forward a little bit, set the transparency to 0.5 so we can see. I'm then going to set the size to 1 by 1 by 1 by 1, so very small. Okay, so I need to explain something. We're going to use pathfinding. If you don't know what that is, pathfinding is pretty much, as the name implies, it's how you make NPCs like walk to certain points and stuff, right? So the way we're going to do this is, right, you're going to need a part, right? You can just go ahead and name this first one checkpoint 1, right? Or checkpoint 1, right? and stuff. Remember, spelling is very important. Capitalization as well. So you're gonna obviously put this a little bit in front of your spawner. So if your spawner right there, you want your checkpoint to be right there, right? So the way this is gonna work is, right, you want to make sure these parts can collide is disabled and make sure they're anchored. So the way this is gonna work is you are going to have one checkpoint, you're going to then duplicate it. So duplicate the top left or control plus D, then you're just going to move it forward a little bit and stuff, right? And then you're going to name the next checkpoint, you're going to go in numerical order. So checkpoint 2, it is very important that you make sure you name them properly, because the way it's going to work is it's literally going to search for checkpoint 1. Okay, we reach checkpoint 1, then we're going to go to checkpoint 2, and then continues on, right? So it's very important that you name them properly. So we're going to duplicate again, control plus D, and then drag it down some more. Then we're going to name this checkpoint 3, and then obviously, as you can probably imagine, this process is going to take us not too long, but a little bit, a significant amount of time. By the time you're done, you should have about like 20 something checkpoints and stuff, but you don't necessarily need to have, like, because if you want to put more distance in between your checkpoints and stuff, that's perfectly fine. Wait, what? Oh, my bad. Duplicate, and then yeah, if you guys want to put more distance, less distance and stuff, that's completely up to you guys and stuff. So yeah, so we're just going to continue duplicating. Very important, make sure you update the names. This will not work properly unless they are named, unless they're named properly, and they have to of course be in order and stuff, right? Checkpoint 8, I'm just going to keep ascending in numerical order, just duplicate, and then checkpoint 9, the NPCs will walk to each checkpoint in numerical order until it reaches the end. Checkpoint 10, control D, then we have checkpoint 11, control plus D, drag this over, then we have checkpoint 12, control plus D, drag this over, checkpoint 13, control plus D, drag that over, and then we have checkpoint 14, control plus D, drag this over, and then we have checkpoint 15. Boom, drag this over. Then we have, oh my bad. Then we have checkpoint 16. It's pretty repetitive and stuff, but once it's done, it's done. Okay, checkpoint 17. Oh my bad, did not mean to lock that. Okay, and then I think, yeah, we'll be done here. Okay, so control was D, and then you just drag your final one. You want it to be a little bit, you could kind of, if you wanted, actually, no, never mind that, yeah, no, never mind, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so what you want it to be is you can put it close to the end if you want and stuff, but yeah, you just want it to be like a little bit in front of the end. So we'll name this final checkpoint, checkpoint 18. Okay, now that you have all your checkpoints, here is what you are going to want to do. You're going to want to select everything, but you're going to want to deselect everything that is not a checkpoint. So we're going to deselect the carpets, we're going to deselect the end, the spawner, the start. You want to make sure everything you have selected are the checkpoints. Then you're going to group them together. So you can do that by having them all selected and pressing Control plus G, or right clicking and then group as a model. Okay, then you're going to want to, very important, make sure you name this exactly as I'm naming it. You're going to name them checkpoints, right? The way it's going to work is it's going to iterate through all of the parts in the group, and what it's going to do is it's going to go, okay, NPC will walk to checkpoint 1. Okay, we've reached checkpoint 1, now we're going to go to checkpoint 2. Okay, we've reached checkpoint 2, now we're going to go to checkpoint 3, and so on and so forth. So once you're done setting all your checkpoints up and everything, you can just right click, select children, and then set the transparency to 1, right? Because obviously you don't want players to be able to see the checkpoints. So just like that, we are done setting up that part. That was the easier part. Now we need the NPC. Now we need to set up the NPC stuff in our we need to set up an NPC folder. So head on over to server storage, plus icon folder. You're gonna want to rename this folder to NPC folder. Then you're gonna want to insert a folder into the NPC folder, and then here is where you're gonna put your name for your NPC. So I'm just gonna use some names from the game. So Nubini Pizza Nini, I think that's how you say that, right? And then I'm going to insert some values. Okay, we need to, we need some stats. We need a value for money per second, how much money the player earns per second, the price, how much it costs, the rarity, and then of course the rig to spawn in. So you're going to want to first, you're going to want to insert a number value, right? Insert a number value, and then you're going to want to rename this number value to money per second. This is how much money the player will earn per second after they've bought the NPC. So you can set this to whatever you want. I'm just going to say 5, and then you can while having it selected, you can press duplicate in the top left, And then you're going to want to name this price, and then this is how much it's going to cost the player to actually purchase the NPC. So say it's like 200. Then you want to enter a string value into the folder, so plus icon and string value, and then you're going to want to rename this value to rarity. So this is the rarity. So I'm just going to put common, right? Then you're gonna need your rig. Okay, so pretty much is your NPC model and stuff. So y'all can get that from the toolbox. That's where I'm getting all of mine from. So I'm just gonna go to recent models, right? And then I'm going to get these. I'm probably actually gonna get this to get as R6, yeah. So I'm just gonna get these models and stuff from the workspace, or sorry, not workspace, toolbox, right? Um I think we can, yeah. Okay. So you can just get, so I'm just going to get 3, right? So boom. So once you have your rigs, right? Once you have your rigs, this is very important. Um, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to rename all of them, very important. Rename all of them to simply rig, because you're going to insert them into each individual folder. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to have it so that it just does rig and then clones that. So then once you have your first folder, you can just duplicate it. So duplicate, and then just, rename it and then just do everything, differently. So for the second one, this will be Talpa de Ferro. I think that's how you say that. Then it's going to randomize the stats. We're just going to say 7. Price, we'll set it to like 500. Rarity, we'll say this is uncommon. And then we'll do the same for the third one. Third one will be Tim Cheese. And then we will set money per second to 12. Set the price to 800. And then set the rarity to rare, right? Okay, and then once we're done with that, now we just need to put our rigs inside of each individual folder, right? And again, make sure they're named rig. Now, some things you do need to do before, you guys see how their names are at the top and stuff, right? You guys do see how their names are at the top and everything. We do not want that, right? We do not want what's it called? We do not want their rigs, or sorry, their names at the top, because we need, the UI to be all the way at the top and stuff, so that we can see, actually like 4 different things. We need to see all these stats: money per second, the price, the rarity, as well as their name and stuff, right? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna select all your rigs, or you can do it individually, doesn't matter. You're going to then go into each one, right? Oh, we didn't have to select them, but yeah, you're just gonna go into each one, find their humanoid, select their humanoid, and then you can just hold control and then select all the humanoids. Look for display distance type, click that, and then just set it to none so that it will not display their usernames and stuff. So boom, right? And then from there we're going to need to um you're gonna need to put your animations into it. So of course, if you want your NPCs that walk animations and stuff while they're walking, you're going to want to insert an animation into said rig. So just plus click on the animation, rename this to walk animation, and then you're gonna need to put your animation ID. Here I got my animation from the toolbox. You cannot use my ID, you have to use your own and stuff. You can get your own animations from the toolbox. That's where I got this one from. So 897-460947-732. Right, and then I'm just going to use the same block animation. I'm just going to duplicate that. I'm going to use the same block animation for all rigs and stuff, right? Because I'm not going to give them all their own custom one. So walk animation, then you're going to need to insert a string value into each rig as well. You're going to want to name this to NPC name, right? Since each one is named rig, we need to actually, make sure we know the name of the NPC. So you're just gonna do that NPC name. So I'm going to drag this rig into this one, and then you're just gonna copy the name on the folder. So Control C, then just find an NPC name and then set the value to that. And you're just gonna continue just doing that. So we're gonna grab 2 rigs, bring them here. I don't know why NPC name. Yeah, I don't know why it had NPC name grab, but okay, we'll do that. Drag them to there. Then instead of our rig, we have our NPC name, and then it's set already, I think. Yeah, okay. Good to go there. We'll drag another rig in here. Then we will insert a string value. Again, NPC name into the rig, and then you're just gonna copy the folder name, because the name of the folder should be the name of the NPC. So boom, do that, and then just do that again, drag it in, insert a string value, and then just copy that. NPC name, set the value. Okay, boom. We now have that. That's great. Okay. Now that we have that, the second to last thing we need to do is, of course, make the overhead UI, right? So what we're gonna do is, not gonna lie to you guys, I actually forgot the dimensions and stuff, for like the sizing and position and stuff. So y'all gonna have to give me a second. I'm gonna have to go find that real quick. So y'all give me a second. Alright guys, and we are back. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to open up the NPC folder. Like I said, you're going to want to go into each individual rig and do this, but we could really just do this once and then we'll just just duplicate it into, and then just drag and drop it into each rig. So we want to find the head on the NPC, right? But you can really just drag the rig into the workspace just to make sure it looks good and everything. So this will be our rig for testing. You open up the rig, find the head, and then just insert a, oh, by the way, make sure your animation, like if your animation isn't working, make sure your animation matches your art type, right? So for example, you just click humanoid and then you scroll down, you'll see the rig type and stuff, right? So since this rig is an R6 rig type, I need to make sure the animation is R6 and stuff, right? So if it's R15, then it needs to be R15. But anyway, so open up your head, you're going to want to insert a billboard GUI into it, right? Insert a billboard GUI into it and stuff. The settings are very important, right? So make sure you copy everything exactly as I'm copying, unless exactly as I am writing it, unless you want to do your own thing. So you're gonna set the adorney to the head, the player's head. You're gonna need to update that every time you if you duplicate or copy and paste it into a new rig. So for the properties, right, we're going to scroll down and we're going to want to disable reset on spawn. As for size, you're going to want to do 10, 0, 6, 0. We need to make sure there's enough space because we're trying to fit a lot of stuff on the screen. As for the size offset, you're going to do 0, 1, right? So then it's a whole bunch, it's a gigantic box above the NPC's head. Then you're going to want to insert a text label, right? You're going to want to rename this to money per second text label. Whole point is the stat is gonna match the name of the text label and include excluding the words text and label. So for this, you're gonna set the position to 0, 0, 0.5, 0. As for the size, you're gonna do 1, 0, 0.3, 0, right? So boom, and then what you can do is you can go ahead and set bold text, rich text, scale text, right? We'll obviously change the color for each one. And then we're going to set the background transparency to 1, right? And then for money, this is supposed to be like I think it's like a dark green, I think. This is the money per second, so this is going to be like dark green. Then you're just going to go ahead and duplicate the text label. You're going to want to rename this one to name text label. This is going to be above it. This is going to be the name of the NPC. So name text label, right? Then for this, I honestly I have no idea how much. I have no idea what color it was to be honest. I think it was white and black. I think I think it's just white and black. So I'm gonna do text by text color. Oh my bad. I'm gonna set text stroke transparency to 0 while the text stroke color is black. So we're just going to do that real quick. Boom. Okay, so for the name text label, obviously we're going to have to change, for all of them, we're going to have to change their position and sizing. So position will be 0, 0, 0, 0. Right, it's going to be all the way at the top. Size will actually remain the same. Okay. Then we're just going to duplicate the name text label. You're going to want to rename this to price text label. This is going to be how much it cost. So the price text label. As for the position, you're going to do 0, 0, 0.7, 0. And then you're going to set the size. You're going to leave the size actually as to what it is. So this is the price. I think this is like just a lighter green, to be honest. I think it's just a lighter green. So yeah. So we have price. Then you're going to duplicate it one last time. Then scroll up. You're going to want to rename this to rarity text label. So rarity, oh my bad, I spelled that wrong. Rarity text label, right? Position is going to be 0, 0, 0.3, 0. And then size, I think, yeah, size is the same. And then this, I think the text color was like gold, I believe. So yeah, I think that's how it's supposed to be. But I'm honestly not totally sure. But yeah. So once you have all those set, you guys can, of course, all you really need to ensure is the size and positioning is the same as well as the names. You guys can set the color, the font, and all that. It's completely up to you guys. But I'm just gonna make sure all their text is cleared. So I'm just gonna select all them while holding. So hold the control key and then just left click, just clear their text, right? And then boom. And then of course you want to rename. Oh my bad, I actually forgot to do this. Rename the GUI to info. Oh my bad, info GUI, right? And then again, make sure it's parented to the NPC's head. Then what you can do is you can copy that. Once we're done here, we can just drag this NPC. Again, make sure it's named rig. Drag that back into its folder. Then go to the next one, find its head, right click, paste into. Only thing you have to do to change is just update the Adorni, right? Update the Adorni. So boom. I know it may be a little confusing to some people because it says head and you think it's this one. No, when it says head, it's referring to that NPC's head, not this one. So yeah. So we're done with the second rig. Then we're gonna go to the third one. Right click on the head, paste into, boom, right? Then update the Adorni, and then we are done with the side stuff, and now we can get into the actual coding part stuff, the spawning and everything. So now we're gonna go ahead and open up the local script. We're gonna be here for a solid second. So go after the local player variable. You're gonna create a variable for the core GUI. So you're gonna say core GUI is equal to player.player GUI. Wait for child core GUI. Scroll down, go after the first function. Then you're gonna say player.leader stats. We're gonna set this up on the server script. .cache.changed connect function, close parentheses, enter. We're going to pretty much update this text label to reflect how much money the player currently has. So then we're going to say core GUI dot money text label dot text is equal to in quotation marks money symbol dot 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 player dot leader stats dot cache dot value. And then we are done here. Then we are going to move to the server script, right? We're going to create 3 values. So you're pretty much going to just go down to the player added function. You're going to go in between the character added and base assigner function. So right here, then you're going to set up leader stats. So we'll create a variable for our leader stats folder. So it's equal to instance.new. Oh, my bad, not my bad, wrong thing. Folder, then leader stats dot name is equal to leader stats. Then leader stats dot parent is equal to player. Then you're gonna create 3 values. First, steals. We're gonna set. I plan to set up the steal system. I think it's either gonna be part 3 or part 4. Part 3 is gonna be where they can actually claim the NPCs, like like to get them to come back to their base and make the money and stuff. It depends how long that video will have to be. Because if that video is too long, then I'll just make it a steal system where where you can steal NPCs and stuff from other players. In part 4. But yeah, so steals is equal to instance.new. This would be a number value, of course. Then you'll say steals.name is equal to steals dot value by default should be 0, and then steals dot parent should be the leader stats folder. Then you can really just copy and paste to save yourself some time. So select it, copy, then just go after it, Control plus V, and then Control plus V. Okay. So for a second value, this is going to be rebirths. So then we're going to select it, Control C, Control plus V, Control V, Control V, and Control V. Then for the last thing we're going to do, we're going to set up the cache. So cache, this would be a little different. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. And then here is where you put your default amount. So like I was saying, whatever you put here, I'd recommend you put there because the whole point you want it to match and stuff for the default amount of cache. So I'm just going to say 100 is the default amount of cache, right? So boom, we are done with that. So we're going to go after all of that, and we're going to create a variable for our new NPC folder. So you're going to say local NPC folder is equal to game.server-storage wait for child NPC folder. Then you're going to create a table with all of the NPCs that you currently have. So you will need to update this. So you will say local NPCs, right, is equal to special brackets enter. And then you will say special brackets again. You will say model, and then we will retrieve the folder. It's more so the folder, I guess, not really the model. It's more so the folder, to be honest. But yeah, you will say NPC folder. Make sure you're doing everything exactly as I'm doing it. Wait for child, right? And then you're gonna need to put each you're gonna need to do what I'm about to do for this line for every single NPC you have in your game. So you're gonna get your first one, then after that you're gonna put a comma, then you're gonna create chance. Chance, this is the rarity system. So this is the chance of it spawning, right? You obviously want that to be, it should be in collaboration with the rarity and stuff, right? So you want it to be, consistent and stuff. So we're gonna say that since Tim Cheese is rare, we're gonna say it has a 10% chance of spawning, right? And then all you're gonna do to make the other ones, you can really just copy this. So you can just copy, then just go after Control V, right? And then you're just gonna go do it for the second one now. So for the second one, we have Top of the Pharaoh chance. Since Top of the Pharaoh is uncommon, we will say it's a 50% chance of spawning, right? And then for the last one, we will do new. Oh my bad. We will do new Beanie. Oh, my bad. Let me do that. Okay, there we go. Wait, there's an issue. It would appear there is an issue. It would appear there's an issue. Expected to close. I'm confused. I am confused. What does it mean? Expected parentheses to close. What are they talking about? Wait for trial. Chance is equal to. Yeah, I'm so confused. What is it talking about? Chance is equal to. I don't understand. Expected line 56. Oh, my bad. I know what it. Oh, did not mean to do that. Okay, I know what it is. My bad, guys. We need to put commas. Yeah, we need to put commas at the end, right? We need to put commas at the end. So you put commas at the end and stuff of each line and stuff. Obviously, it. I don't think it really matters here, but yeah, we need to make sure that you have commas at the end of each line, right? And then you're gonna do that again. You're gonna do all of this, right? Model is equal to, make sure you spell everything exactly as I did, and the chance. This is pretty much the chance of it spawning. So Tim Cheese has a 10% chance of spawning. Top of Pharaoh has a 50% chance. Nubini has a 10% chance. So pretty much, oh my bad, this is actually supposed to be 90. But so pretty much the lower the number, the lower the chance they have of spawning. And stuff. The higher the number, the higher the chance they have of spawning. Okay. And then of course you're gonna need to update that for each NPC you have. Then we're gonna set up the first function. So we're gonna say a local function. This would be our choose random NPC function. So it'll choose our random NPC. So enter. So this would be similar to what I did in my tower defense series. You're gonna create a variable called total weight, set it equal to 0. You're gonna say for I, comma v I pairs, right? And then you're gonna say NPCs, enter. Then you'll say total weight. Oh my bad. Total weight plus equal, and then you're gonna say v dot chance. So chance, boom. Then after that, you're gonna create a variable called random weight, which is equal to math dot random, right? And then you're going to multiply that times total weight, right? Then you're going to create a variable called current is equal to 0. Then you're going to say for IV and I pairs once again. Then you'll say NPCs. After that, enter. Then current plus equal to v dot chance. Then we'll scroll down a little bit. I feel as though. Oh my bad. I forgot to put in. My bad, guys. In at the top. But yeah. So after you do that, inside of the loop, you're then gonna say if random weight is less than or equal to current, enter. Then you will say return v.model.rig. This is why I said you need to make sure each NPC is just named rig and stuff inside of the folder, right? So we'll return the rig. So then this is our choose random NPC function. This will select a random NPC. Now we need to set up the NPC moving function so that it moves to each checkpoint until it reaches the end. So again, local function, NPC move, in parentheses, you're going to put the NPC, enter. Then you will say for I is equal to 1. That's where you're going to start because the whole point is you just start at checkpoint 1, comma, very important, you're going to say workspace. You're going to reference your checkpoints, right? You're going to say workspace.checkpoints, get children. What this is going to do is, this is why it's very important that you have every single checkpoint in here. It's going to get the total number of checkpoints. This loop is only going to run the total amount of checkpoints you have, right? So make sure the only things you have inside of here are checkpoints, or else you will get an error. So since I have, I think it's a total of 18 checkpoints, it's going to run 18 times, right? Maybe different for you. Then comma 1, enter. Then we will start at checkpoint 1. So we will say checkpoint number is equal to 1. Then we will say npc dot humanoid move to. Oh, by the way, if you that reminds me actually. Obviously make sure NPCs have humanoids inside of them. If they don't, just plus icon, enter the humanoid. One other thing, make sure your humanoids have animators inside of them. So just hit the plus icon and then just type animator and stuff. Make sure the humanoids have animators inside of them for our animations. Since doing it the old-fashioned way is considered what's the word? Not deferred. I forgot what the word. Oh, this one already has an animator. I forgot what it's called. But where it's pretty much it's old now, I guess. I don't know. Well, anyway, we're gonna say move to. You're gonna say workspace reference your checkpoints model, right? Then regular bracket quotation marks check. You're gonna checkpoint, right? Then you're going to go on the outside the quotation marks dot dot, and then you're going to say checkpoint number, right? Remember, this is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to keep going until it reaches the end. So that's why I said it's imperative that you name them exactly as I named them, because then it's going to go checkpoint 1. Okay, now to checkpoint 2, right? So then you're going to go on the outside, go in between. You're going to say dot position. It's going to then move. The NPC will then move to that position, and then we need to, of course, play the animation. So at is equal to npc dot humanoid dot animator load animation, then you will say npc dot walk animation, right? Then you will play the animation track. Then you will say npc dot humanoid dot move to finish. So once they finished walking there, then connect function, close parentheses, enter, right? So once they finish walking there, you're then going to say checkpoint number plus equal 1. You're just going to increase it by 1. Then you will say if checkpoint number is equal to the total number of checkpoints. So checkpoints, get children, enter if it's equal to the total number. What that means is they've reached the end. Because if you have a total of 18 checkpoints, once you reach checkpoint 18, then that means the NPC has reached the end. And then they need to be destroyed because nobody bought them. Nobody cared to buy them. So tough, but you know. So then destroy them. And then you're going to throw an else. If they haven't reached the end, then that means they just need to keep moving. So what you'll do is you can just copy and paste this line right here. Control C, Control V. And then they will just continue walking towards the next point until they reach the end, right? And then we are done with that. Now we just need to create one last function and then a loop. So this function, local function, this would be our spawn NPC function. So spawn NPC, close parentheses, enter, you will create a variable for the NPC, which would be equal to choose random NPC. So it will return the NPC itself. Then you will clone it over. So NPC model will then be equal to NPC clone, right? And then you will say NPC model dot parent is equal to workspace. And then you will get the specific NPC folder. When I say that, I'm referring to either one of these three. So you will say, oh my bad, did not mean to do that. You will say specific NPC folder. I didn't want to confuse you guys. If we put NPC folder, I didn't want to confuse you guys with this NPC folder. So specific NPC folder, you will say is equal to NPC folder, regular bracket, NPC model. Make sure you have that NPC name dot value and stuff, right? Setup. Boom. And then you will say NPC model. Now you need to set all of the UI stuff. So you say NPC model dot head dot info GUI dot price text label dot text is equal to in quotation marks money symbol dot dot dot. Then you say specific NPC folder dot price dot value. Then you can really just copy and paste that. So select it, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. You just need that 4 times and stuff, right? So for the second one, we will then move on to the name text label. So for this, we can clear this out right here. And then you just want this to say specific folder. Oh, you want this to say specific folder dot name. So dot name. Then for the second one, right, we have the rarity text label. And then for this, clear out the beginning. And then you're just going to change price to rarity, right? Then for the last one, we have the money per second text label. And then this would be with a money symbol. And then you'll just go right here to change this to money per second. Then go on the outside, or not the outside, go to the end. quotation mark, and then you're just going to put slash s, so this is how much the player will give per second. Then once you're done with that, you'll set their C frame, so you'll say NPC model pivot to workspace dot spawner. Remember your spawner part dot C frame, right? And then you will call the NPC move function, and then attach the NPC model. Make sure you're referencing the right variable, NPC model. And then the last thing we need to do is set up the while loop so that it'll continue spawning NPCs for forever. So you'll say while true do. Okay, this is very important. Enter, very very important. You're gonna put spawn NPC, right? You're just gonna call the spawn NPC function. Then of course you're gonna do task that wait. You guys can put however many seconds you want here. It's completely up to you guys. You just need to make sure it's obviously that there is a wait. But very important, make sure that your while loop is at the end of your script. Like if you make other stuff, put a space above it, okay? Because here's the thing, since this is a while loop, what this means is like the functions up here and everything will continue to like run and everything if they're called, but anything past this line will not run because it is a while true do loop. It will this is an infinite loop. It will continue running and stuff. So that means any functions after this or anything will not work, even if they're called. Functions above will work if they're called though. So yeah. So we're done with everything. Let's go ahead and test to make sure this works. As always, if you guys want access to any one of my scripts or models, just read the description. Okay, so boom, we have our first NPC. Okay. What is going? Okay. Well, that one seems to be doing it right. Why are they? I'm a little bit confused. Why are they spawn? Well, not they. I think the problem actually is with that specific model. I'm not gonna lie. I forgot. Which one is that? I honestly forgot. Hold on. Which one is that? Okay, yeah, because you see, we have the name, the rarity, the money per seconds, as well as how much it costs to buy them. I should have put a proximity prompt now that I think about it. Yeah, I don't know why Nubini is doing. I think that's just an issue with the model itself, though. To be honest, I don't think that has anything to do with the scripting. I think that's just the. Let me see. Are there body parts not like scan collide not turned on? Because isn't the human root part always supposed to be? I'm trying to see. No, none of this is. That is so strange. Okay. But their head is can't collide. Is his head can't collide? His head is can't collide. What is going on? Why is he like. Yeah, why is he. Huh. It's very strange because the spawner can't collide is disabled. So I wouldn't see why he's. I don't understand why he's not spawning regularly. It's very strange, I'm not gonna lie. It's very strange. I think it's a problem with the rig because when I tested it before, it was working just fine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna replace this rig with a default rig just to test it. So I'm just gonna drag and drop everything. So the NPC name, the walk animation, as well as the info GUI. I'm gonna drag all of that into the new rig I just created. We're going to delete that old rig, right? And then I'm just gonna oh, I was like, where did it go? Okay. So NPC name. Okay. So then I'm gonna set the new Adorni. Okay. So I'm just gonna put this inside of the new one and stuff. You guys should be good to go. I don't know why it was doing that. Yep. See, there we go. It works perfectly fine now. Yeah. It was just something wrong with that rig. So as you guys can see, the animations are playing. We have the name of the units, their rarity, how much money you get per second, how much it costs for them, and then once they reach the end, as you guys can clearly see, they are destroyed if nobody comes to claim them and stuff. We also have our leader stats in the top right, and then as you can see, if I go to the server side and then change how much money I currently have to like 105, you will notice on the client side it updates. Boom. So yeah, so that is part 2. Part 3, we will make it so that you can claim them and they can come to the platforms and they'll come to the platforms and work for you and make you money and everything like that. So yeah, if you guys want part 3, just show this video love and support now, and I got you guys and stuff. So yeah, thank you guys for all the love and support you've been showing on the channel. Like I said, if you're interested in this scripter model or any of my other scripter models, just read the description on how to get access. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, definitely leave a like and subscribe if you're new and stuff. I will continue the series so long as it continues to receive love. So yeah, I will see you guys in part 3. Thank you guys for watching.